All right, hi, welcome back from our short little break. I'm Erin Perry, and I'm one of the service coordinators at the Women's Center, and we just want to thank you guys for, we want to thank Sustainable Campuses for organizing this debate, I suppose, and hope you guys are ready for our questions, and I'll pass it over to Lima.
Hi, my name is Lima. I'm one of the other service coordinators for the Women's Center, and I'll be posing the questions on behalf of the Women's Center. That being said, the first question is posed towards the presidential candidates of all the teams. The Women's Center is a feds-run services that all candidates should be familiar with. That being said, are you specifically familiar with the values of the Women's Center? And the order we'll be going in is Green Team, Nova Team, and then Spark.
Yeah, me and my team definitely are aware of the values of the Women's Center, and we do really appreciate the work that they do, boosting quality and helping with women right. And there's a lot of services that I'm actually like reading up on you guys. I was surprised there are a lot of things that you guys offer that a lot of students don't actually realize, and that's something I think we could really help you with. We want to advocate more of the services that you guys provide, the counseling. I never really knew, or personal talk, peer-to-peer sessions. I never even knew that you guys had those. So yeah, I'm very supportive, and we do understand the values that Women's Center holds to students as a whole. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So I know you promote women's rights, and so like particularly values is talking about safe space for women. It's about providing advocacy and running events like Love Your Body, the bus casting, Let's Talk BDSM, and promoting that discussion and dialogue. And it's about providing resources for feminine hygiene products or birth control or whatever else is necessary.
So I'm personally pretty familiar with your service, and I've contacted you guys on numerous times to actually run events because I teach self-defense for women, and I definitely absolutely support what you guys do, and I absolutely advocate for equality on campus, regardless if it's towards males or females that the discrimination is happening. I definitely advocate for equality. So I do love the events you put on and how they challenge people and they make people come out and, what is this? I want to know. And I love the support you offer for people who just kind of need someone to listen. And I definitely love your services, your events. It's just such a community, and your room is fantastic. So thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. The second question is posed for the VP Education candidates. Do you believe that the values of the Women's Center should be applied universally across the campus? And if so, how do you intend to achieve that? The order will be Spark, Team Green, and then Team Nova.
Again, agreeing with Danielle, the Women's Center does provide the service that a lot of women need on campus, but I love the inclusivity of the center itself. It's very open, so it's welcoming to all gender and races and whatnot, so very inclusive. And advocating for that service on campus is also important. So the continuous support for the center itself, and perhaps collaborating with the Women's Center with other faculty societies and hosting events together, raising more awareness about the center will actually provide students with the services that they actually need, the support that they need. Like, they will know that when they come to the Women's Center, they can talk about certain things. Like, we were at an event the last weekend, and it was pretty awesome. Like, I didn't even think about the certain topics that were spoken about, and to carry that conversation back to my faculty, you just create that relationship, create that community, and it's a well-needed service on campus because of its inclusivity. I love it.
So one of the committees that the VP Education sits on is the Tenures and Promotions Committee, and that's obviously been a concern in the past and potentially a continuing concern that there aren't enough female professors. So that would be something that, as VP Education, we could look into, or I could look into, to ensure that in the hiring process that it is equal and that there is no racism, sexism, or any other negative isms in the hiring process. I'd also like to advocate throughout the whole university for equality and ensuring that everybody has equal rights. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Sorry, I'll move the mic a little closer. So one of the things that when we were doing a read through your website before we came, we saw that you would like to be members of the Status of Women and Equity Committee, which is part of the faculty associations. This is something that we think is extremely important. It makes the most. It's great for a student to be on this committee, the hiring committee for faculty hires in the first place, and it makes so much sense for someone from the Women's Center to do it. They're much more aware of the issues around equality and women's rights than someone like myself would be. So this is something that we'll work with you with, and we'll make sure that we get someone on this committee. The other thing that is more close to my heart, and it's a woman's issue, but I think it's an issue overall, is this idea of safety on campus. I'm a residence life don. I have 55 students that live in UWP, and when they have classes that go to 10 o'clock at night and they have to, cross across university and come home, some of those paths are not well lit. And there is not really any indication that there's safety there. So something that they do going out to Rev is the helpline, the Blue Towers. These are some things that could go up across campus. They just don't have to be out in kind of in the boonies, but they could go. There could be one at UWP and in some of the dark areas on campus that aren't as well traveled. So no matter where you are on campus, it's well lit and people feel safe when they're traveling. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. There's a rebuttal from
I
Team
just had
B.
a question. Do we each get one rebuttal, or do each position gets one rebuttal?
For each question, everyone will get one. Each team gets one rebuttal. For each question? Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a rebuttal?
I just had a little bit I wanted to add. I've also been very involved with Women in Math through both as MassLock president, and I served as an executive with Women in Math to help support them and to encourage, obviously, women to participate more in STEM fields in general. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The third and last question is posed towards the VP internal candidates. The Women's Center right now is the least visible Fed service on campus. What are your plans to increase the visibility of the center on campus? Pardon me? Oh, sorry. The Team Nova, Team Green, and then Team Spark.
Okay, so again, our team is really supportive of the Women's Center, and obviously increasing visibility is something we are really passionate about. So we have a few main ways of doing this. Again, one of our main platform points is to improve communication to students, and one of the ways we're planning to do this is to really market an event calendar and an involvement compass. So we really want to make sure that if Women's Center is hosting an event, for instance, we can market it on this event calendar and that all students have the access to go and see it. And if students are interested in women's events specifically, they'll be able to use a nice filter feature and see events that are targeted towards them. Second, what we want to do is, again, increase collaboration between the Women's Center and other student groups on campus. So one of the newer student groups that just formed in the summer was WISDOM, so that's Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And that's a group that was formed by Allison Lee, and I worked with her in the summer term with the initial stages of that group. And it was a group that's supposed to combine women in these technical fields. And I think Women's Center has a great role in collaborating with WISDOM and helping with some of the events that are run. And again, we also want to push the Women's Center and other faculty. So groups like engineering, math, science, arts, places where Women's Center might not have a strong presence, but it's something we can work to improve.
To provide their peer support services by making it more accessible. Currently, if a student needs to walk, he just walks in the office. However, if there are a lot of people sitting inside, they might get intimidated, which is why I want to collaborate with President to provide separate entrance or an alternate space for GLOW and Women's Center to provide these services. And I have also, in my top priority, we are also considering Feds app and a map for a clear visibility. Thank you.
So I think there's three main ways that Team Spark can take on that would really improve Women's Center's visibility. And these three ideas are basically access to the Women's Center, promotion of the Women's Center, and awareness about the Women's Center. Access, basically, the Women's Center hallway in the back of the SLC, in that whole hallway is closed after 10 p.m. We would work with the SLC operations manager to have it left open so that students can actually access those services if they need to after 10 p.m. So that's one of our big things in terms of access. In terms of promotion, we want to work with the societies. There's a lot of clubs that already deal with women's issues, women in CS, women in math. We want to increase collaboration between those so that like you guys are working with them actively. The last point basically is about awareness. We want to make sure students know that what the Women's Center advocates for and does is not a radical idea or concept. We want to make sure students know what feminism actually means. We want to make sure that students are aware that feminism is not like this crazy ideology. It's rather about equal women's rights. It doesn't have to necessarily relate to only to women. It can be applied to men. So we just want to create that environment where students realize that there's no stigma, there's like a lot of inclusivity so that they can get involved. And with these three strategies, I feel like we will improve Women's Center's visibility.
Thank you. Those are all the questions that the Women's Center has, and we'd like to thank all the teams and the candidates for their time. So we're going to take a 5-minute break now, and the next team that will be asking questions are the campus response team.
I feel like CRT is going to
I'm not sure.
You want oxygen? Sure. Show me the proposal, man. Show me the proposal, man. I'm so sorry.
You know that. I've used that one.
What's the girl on the right's name? Erin?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen her somewhere, but I don't know where.
Oh, Beth is here. That's the coordinator of CRT in the white shirt.
That's who?
The coordinator of CRT.
Hey, tear him apart. I want to see Mozzie.